Good morning. I just wanted to get on here, talk to my sisters a little bit, all my single sisters that are out there. So I know a lot of us struggle with being single and being lonely, right? But I hope to come on here more often and kind of help those that are single and struggling, and instead of being single and struggling, help you be single and thrive. Because I know from my own experience what God has continued to bring about into my life. As I lean in and draw closer to Him, He draws closer to me. And so there's a couple things that happens when we start letting go of the need and the desire to want to think that we're complete by having a man, right? So if we allow God to come into our life and allow Jesus to fill our hearts and to fulfill all the needs that we have, He will do that. So in Singleness and Thriving, it's kind of like taking a road trip on a road trip with Jesus, right? So God will reveal things to us within our own heart and our own heart to uncover the hurt and the pain that we've endured through relationship after relationship after relationship. So I like to go back to the word recovery, because recovery is not just for, an addict and the way society sees it as a drug or alcoholic. Recovery is for everybody. Recovery brings us back to wholeness and restoration and healing, right? So through your singleness, you've had all these relationships that you've actually been in that have been really toxic and really detrimental to your well-being, right? Not because that person was toxic, but probably because you're toxic. Like me, I was toxic. I didn't have the right thought process. I didn't have the right mental capacity to actually be in relationships, because all my relationships around me were pretty destroyed and pretty broken. My perception of life and my expectations were placed on others when I wasn't even living in the expectation of what I even wanted or what I even knew I wanted, because I didn't even have a clue what I wanted or what I needed. It was just the flesh and fulfillment of having another body, whether that was physically, intimately, or whatever, relationally. I wasn't healthy to be able to have healthy relationships. A lot of my relationships were strained. But the most important relationship that was strained was not only my relationship with God and my perception of who He was, but also the relationship I had with myself. I was overweight. I was allowing myself to be mentally, physically, and emotionally abused. And then I jumped into another relationship, quickly got married, and that fell out. But I gained a lot from that fallout and that divorce, because I learned a lot about me. I learned about God. That's when I really turned my life over. I just started. I turned my life over to Jesus, and I was just like, this is it. I don't know what else to do. And I picked up my Bible and I continued reading it ever since. So through the journey, through the road trip of being in relationships, toxic relationships, I grew in the knowledge and the wisdom of who the Lord is, and then who He says that I am. So when you go on a road trip with the Lord in your singleness and you start thriving, you start living your life according to His plan and His purpose. We get that through reading the Word, because the faith comes by hearing the Word. But God will reveal and show us things within ourselves that we never even saw. He'll reveal our gifts, our strengths, our talents, our purpose, and our future, because He says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, to provide or to give you a hope and a future." But we live our own way in our own life according to our plan and our purpose and what we want. And it's not about what we want. It's about what He wants to do in us and through us to, bring about glory to Jesus, to Him. And then also in your singleness, begin living your best life to glorify God. So as you learn to allow God to uncover the pain and the hurt and the resentment, contentment, whatever it is, allow Him to bring restoration and healing to your own heart, your own mind. And through that, you'll start living your life in abundance. Am I saying that it's going to be easy and it's not hard? Absolutely, it's hard. There's things that God had to reveal to me of my deep needs being met by a man. But what I had to realize is God is my portion. He is my strength. He is the one that provides for me. It's not the man that's going to provide for me, but God is showing me that in building my life and rebuilding my life and building who I am in Him helps me identify myself more instead of being identified by a man, or if he rejects me or if he hurts me and things like that. Because I went through a divorce, because of that. The divorce resulted in adultery, and then I still fought for it. But anyway, it caused me pain that I wanted to place blame on somebody else for their selfishness and having an affair, causing me to have an STD or an STI, whatever you want to call it. And that identified me for about 5 months. I felt like I was garbage. I felt like I was a disease. I felt like nobody was ever going to want me. But the more and more God revealed to me, He was like, this is not who you are. I'm not a disease. I'm not trash. And I couldn't allow that belief to become my belief system in who I was, because God is the one who gives me identity, right? But I had to walk through that season. There was this guy that I was kind of talking to, and the guy wouldn't even kiss me, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with me, But I had to address some things within my own heart, my own self, because the guy didn't make me feel like that. I took that in, define myself with the thought of I am a disease. So God was revealing that to me, and there was another time that I was talking to this guy and dating this guy, and then all of a sudden he ghosted me, and I'm like, what the heck? And God had her showing me that I had an issue with rejection. But rejection is always for our good, right? Even though it hurts, it's painful, we don't understand it. I just couldn't understand how this person could do this to me. But then again, God had to reveal to me that I didn't even know this person. I was setting this idea about who I wanted this person to be because I was in a desperate, so to speak, way of wanting to be with somebody, right? I wanted to feel something, and God had to reveal to me, it's not about the feelings, it's about being content in whatever season that I'm in, whether single or married or with somebody. But He ultimately wanted me to be healthy and me to be standing on firm foundation of who He is. So then it brought about me looking at character more than chemistry, because there's different parts of us that our character won't change, but chemistry will fade, but character won't, right? So instead of like jumping into this relationship with somebody, it's like, oh, I already know you. Oh, you're so great. Oh, you're so perfect. No, trust is built over time. Trust is built by actions. Trust is built by meaning what you say and saying what you mean. So there is these list of things that I wanted from, that I want in a relationship, that I want in a man, a godly man. But God had to mold my character in what a God-honoring, Christ-honoring, noble character looks like in a woman. And so you read Proverbs 31, you have this woman and all these things, and it seems like it's impossible to even get to that part of a character. But there's some things that I wrote that I'm going to share with you in regards to kind of what that woman looks like. So if we're made in made in the image of God, and we're women, we want to know what that type of woman looks like. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it here. But anyway, so there's just different things and ways that you are going to have to learn your character and who you are and your identity in Christ. So there's this list of different things that, you know, you want, or there's this list of things that you just have no tolerance for anymore in relationship wise. Not condemning these people, but for me, I know what's healthy and I know what's unhealthy. It's unhealthy for me to meet people in the bar. Why? Because that brings attraction, and you start drinking, you start, you know, drinking with the other person. And then it's like, that's who you guys become, is these people who can't be together unless you're drinking, kind of thing, you know. And then there's there's different standards that you want. You got to write those standards down. What do you want? What are you willing to part ways with your own character flaws? What things in yourself are you trying to change? What ways are you wanting to grow in your character, and develop the skill set to be that person, you know, to be that leader, to be that role model, to be that mentor, to be that coach, to be that example to others in your family and your kids. So you have to start working on your character first before you can find the man that you want. And he's supposed to be all these things, but you have to look in the mirror. Are you even those things? So if you're not those things, those are the things that you need to work on, because you attract what you are, not what you want. So you're going to attract your brokenness, and unless your brokenness is healed, unless those wounds are healed, then you're going to continue to attract the brokenness, and you're going to try to continue to find those men that are like you, but are broken like you, and you want to fix them and do all that because we're fixers, right? So work on your own character. Allow God to work on your character, reveal the things in you that you never knew were there. Because we have to feel the pain to actually heal the pain, and we have to invite him in to allow us to heal that. So we want to bring him in to our recovery process, right? So I wish I could find that thing I wrote on woman of noble character. So this is what God told me is, you know, we want, you're precious. You are precious, my daughter. You are far worth more than rubies. No one can compare to you. Fear the Lord. You fulfill his commands. He is all that you need. The man that is after you will be the one of my sons. He will honor you, cherish you, invite you to eat with him. He will desire your heart, not your body or outward beauty. He'll look at you not just as you're so beautiful, because that's one thing I had to learn. Like, I didn't have a problem with attracting men. I had a problem with connecting with men in my heart, because we all go through this life and we're all hurting. But there's somebody out there that's going to understand your hurt, but you have to first understand your hurt and your triggers. And as you develop different characteristics and things of yourself, you can learn, okay, that's a trigger. Okay, that's a hurt spot. That's a wound that hasn't been wounded yet, but the right man will be able to handle your heart with care and compassion. And you'll be able to communicate to him, you know what, that kind of triggered me. You said something that hurt me, but this isn't your fault. This is something that is a wound in me that hasn't been healed. So I'm working through that. And as I'm working through that, this is how you can handle me in these situations. So you learn to better communicate with the other person. You better are able to communicate your needs and desires without feeling rejection or hurt or judged or things like that. Because that's where true intimacy is. It's intimacy you see, but the problem is, we as women, we often want to tell this guy who we just meet everything about us, but the guy does not want to know that all right at the front. But we think, well, if they don't know who we are, or if they know all these things and they don't care, then they'll stay. Or if they don't, then so what? But that brings on a part of rejection that we're not able to handle at this point. So it's best to, when you're going through a dating season or a single season, to be intentional. 7:46. To be intentional with dating. And intentionality, that's another thing that I'm going to go and talk about. But noble character, personal qualities. Are you of high moral? Do you sleep around? Do you invite men over? Do you go to men's homes? Do you hang out with men while you're drinking? I know for me, if I'm drinking, I don't make the best decisions. I don't know who does, because your character kind of goes out of whack, right? You're not in character, you're actually out of character. You got to have standards and boundaries. And if they don't like the standards and the boundaries, I'm not saying you going and telling them everything about your past, that they should have to carry it, and then that's an emotional burden for them, so they often run away. But the boundaries and the standards, what are your boundaries? What are your standards? What are your intentions? Don't go to the man's house. Don't go anywhere alone. Always go to public settings for 3 months, and you get to know his character. And he's getting to know your character, but you have to stay in your character and to be noble. You have a noble woman that God says, you have dignity, compassion, wisdom, state of having honor, respect, and being worthy, because a lot of times we don't feel worthy. So we'll lower our standards, we'll compromise our identity and trying to please somebody else and give them what they think that they should have in a person like ourselves. But the important part is that we don't compromise our identity. We keep walking in who the Lord says that we are. So, remember, charm is deceptive and beauty does not exist, I wrote that wrong because it says does not does not last. That's the word, not east. So charm is deceptive and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. So a woman of God, not a woman of the world. Your accomplishments and reputation come entirely from your dedication to the Lord. That's ultimately what you're doing when you're being a woman of noble character. You're submitting your ways to the Lord. You're honoring him. You're glorifying him. You're being obedient to his word as you learn and grow in who he is. So I hope this resonates with you, helps you in whatever part of the singleness journey that you're in or on. And I hope that you will subscribe and share this. And as I continue to grow, learn, I will share more with you. God bless you. Take care.